Welcome, welcome. Ziggy1X coming back at you from a long sabbatical. Between being sick with the flu, having some testing going on, and a couple other things, I have been out of commission, basically just logging in, doing my basics, and now I'm just starting to come up for air and get back into doing a little bit of this, doing a little bit of NieR reincarnation. So let's go ahead and jump into what I've missed, because this is going to be me playing catch up over the past few weeks while I've been dinking around making other fun videos and a couple other things just because they came up. I mean, that last one, that wasn't me making the video, that was my wife recording and shaming me for not being capable or competent at riddling. So that's what happened there. So let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit. You can see here, I've got Yuletide Griff. Now, this guy and Yuletide Gale have been very elusive for me. And I am not gonna bore you all with the details, but I did dip into the paid banner a little bit, and the 7.5% rate is a lie. I'm sitting at 2% right now, so I'm just gonna leave it there. So with no further ado on that, let's jump into what we've missed. We've got 3 Christmas banners up right now. And let's go ahead and jump over there and take a look. First of all, I will note, we are getting one of the greatest, the most highly anticipated, especially if you're GoTem, updates that this game has ever seen in the creation of this game. More significant than subjugation, more significant even than sorting memoirs, which is my mainstay. It is the addition of the ability to use multiple summon tickets, single summon tickets at once. Thank you, developers, for finally implementing this most simple of features a full 1.5 years into the game's life. And all snark aside, I'm really excited for this feature because pulling on those single tickets is the most mind-numbingly obnoxious experience, especially when we've got 30 or 40 or 50 of them stored up. Just go away. So with no further ado, let's take this by the numbers and let's look at last year's Christmas banner with these 3 lovely units. We will start with our lovely leading lady, Yuletide Akeha. She is the prize of this banner, and if you have her, you by default have her in your subjugation team, and you have her in all of your subjugation teams. She is that good. Let's look at why she's that good. First of all, most of the units on these banners are support units, and some of them have very good to exceptional debris. And we're going to go through, we're going to look at each of these. Some of them have very good weapons, and a few of them actually have exceptional weapons. And a few of them are kind of copies of each other, just catered to being specialists in different elements. So I'm sure that anyone who's going to pull on these banners already has. So this is probably a bit of a moot point, but I'm going to go ahead and pitch in my 2 cents anyway, since I don't have the time to plan another video at this point. I'm working on another project right now. I had a great work week. I had to drive up to my office in Ohio and met a lot of the guys, and it was a lot of fun. Got some new equipment too, which is very exciting. And so I haven't had a whole lot of time to actually sink my teeth into new things that I want to do, but I have a few plans that are rolling around inside my head. So we'll see if those pan out the way I want them to. But let's start. Akeha, what makes her so special? All allies attack up by 15% for 60 seconds, very good. And all 2x or more chains up by 15% for 60 seconds. This is excellent. Anything that increases that chain limit damage is very, very powerful. This being in a gauge C character skill means she's going to be able to fire it off very often. It doesn't just make her useful for subjugation, it also makes her useful for other parts of the game where you have a primary focus damage dealer and you can use her as a support, and if you're trying to squeak out extra damage from that damage dealer, she can just boost the damage of everybody else on the team with this ability. What else does she bring to the table? All allies HP up by 10%, very useful team skill. And then all allies attack up by 15% for 60 seconds. Now this is different than a static percentage. This is a time percentage, which means it's actually a larger multiplier. So pay attention to these characters that have either timed agility or timed whatever in their kits, because there's actually a more impressive benefit that you're not seeing on paper for your characters. If you put this character in your party, and this costume in your party, you're not going to see the stats go up like you will with some of the other characters. One thought comes to mind, Fabled Noelle from the Sinnoh Alice collaboration. She has a flat 20%, I believe. Yeah, I believe it's a 20% attack increase that's not timed. And as soon as you slot her into your party, you'll see everybody's attack go up as a result of that. That's good. It's being based off of the base attack stat. It's not factoring in weapons or memoirs or anything else. It's just the base stats. So pay attention to that. Look for these timed abilities. They are very, very good. What else is she bringing? She's also bringing the equipment stat. This is kind of the weakest one. It increases the stats of light affinity weapons. And yeah, there we are. Now her debris is interesting. It's not a timed lucid boom, but it's just a flat 15%. That's still good, okay? And you'll see that the timed ones, the theme moving forward, the timed elemental booms are pretty significant. So let's go ahead and go to this next one, Fio. You see a lot of her, or at least you used to see a lot more of her in Arena. This isn't the reason why, but this is a good skill. All characters defense by 30% for 30 seconds, and then decreases, or actually, yeah, decreases the school cooldown by 20%. This is great. Okay, this is a great ability. What else is she bringing? Timed attack. This is excellent. What else is she bringing? Timed agility. This is also excellent. And defense. So now you can see why you're seeing more of her in Arena, because she has both timed attack and timed agility, both excellent abilities. She basically has the same debris as Cell of Yuri in that it decreases the cooldown by 5% if you are using a water affinity main hand weapon. That's fine. I've got it for Yuri because I went all ham for Yuri. It's a great debris. I use it all over the place. Now, this debris, I'm gonna focus in on this for our lovely Lavania here, our Rudolph the Not Red Nose Lavania. Increases light damage by 35% for 30 seconds. This is very, very powerful. And there's another character notable to this that has a very similar debris, and it's Celebratory Gale. I believe hers is 40% for 30 seconds. I'll have to double check that one, but it's also a very good light boon. Now, there isn't a ton more that this guy brings. You'll see him doing something similar to what I believe, yes, you'll see him doing something similar to what our Yuletide Saryu brings, except he's a power crept version of Yuletide Saryu. So he's not as good, all right? But he does have a decent weapon, a couple other things going for him. He is definitely the weakest of the bunch when it comes to all these. Now let's bounce down to the banner that we got first this year. You can see here that Saryu, first of all, she's doing more damage. Again, a skill gauge C, which is very good. She's increasing attack by 30% instead of just the 15% for 30 seconds. And she's increasing dark damage by 30%, where Lavania was increasing light damage by 30%. So you can see that these are specialist classes. All of these limited units that we have been getting specialize in elements. And that's kind of the direction the game has been taking these newer costumes, is they're, and I'm back because I accidentally activated Siri, but they're less generic and they are basically focusing on elements. So let's go ahead here and take a look at her support abilities. Okay, so we've got increased damage dealt by 80% when your HP is lower. So this is going to be a caged vigor. What do we have also? Dark affinity weapons for the whole party, more support abilities. All allies attack by 10%. Note, this is not a timed attack up. Okay, so this is a support heavy character. Now let's bounce over here to Yuletide Werebeast, and you'll see that Priet here is almost a carbon copy of Yuletide Griff when we get to him. Very similar stats, very similar abilities, very similar, actually identical character skills. So if you see one, you see the other, except Priet is a dark specialist and Yuletide Griff is a water specialist. Okay? You will also note here dark damage dealt up 25% for 60 seconds. So you can kind of see the variation in these boon debris. So this is very good. This is a very good character. Now you'll also note here that this is 100% times 5. We've got increases dark damage 110% times 3. Now this weapon actually, in my opinion, is not as good as Griff's gun. We'll get to that in just a moment, but it is pretty good. And dark damage dealt up and critical rate up by 15%, which is great. Okay, so that's that banner. It's pretty straightforward. It is probably the least desirable of all three of the banners because while both of these characters are very good at what they do, there's also other characters that do what they do already. So let's bounce up here to what I think is probably one of the more interesting of the banners if you do not have Yuletide Akeha. And personally for me, this is the go-to banner out of all three. Let's take a look at why. So let's look at Griff first because Griff is very straightforward. Again, almost identical to Priet. There is a few major differences though. His debris is absolutely busted. 20% up when HP is over 70%. It's not timed, it's just there. So this is a best in slot for any arena rusher and for a lot of other areas of the game. This is an absolutely amazing debris. If you have the means of getting this, it is worth getting him all the way up to the debris, EX5 or Awakening 5, just to get this debris. It is that good. So don't sleep on that debris. What is he doing here for his character skill? Same thing as Priet. He's a water specialist, so not only is he doing the 300% times 5, but if he's equipped with a water weapon, he's doing 450%. Because that 50% is multiplied into the 300%, so 450% times 5. Super powerful, okay? And he has very similar abilities. Attack up 25%, identical to Priet. Water drive, identical to Priet, except hers is dark. And then instead of caged vigor, he's got bold vigor, okay? So again, this actually makes him ideal for, he's great in arena because of things like this. He's a little slow, but he works great. Now let's look at his gun real quickly. This gun is a really interesting weapon because in my humble opinion, it is actually a competitor for an EX weapon. That's how powerful this gun is. Most of us know that EX weapons are the most powerful weapons in the game. They have the highest multipliers, they have the ability cooldown in haste, and they usually have a second ability, which is very good. A lot of them have the increased crit rate by 20%, which is best in slot, and a couple other things. So this is a very, I'm setting the bar really high when I say that. Let's look at this guy. Deal 90% damage times 5, increase by 40% when HP is over 80%. Do not sleep on that bold vigor. That is a very powerful buff, but that's going to come after this one. Deal 100% times 4 and increases water damage by 30%. So while it's not the 50% that you're getting from an EX weapon like you would be with EX Yuri's gun, it's being added to this guy. So it, in my humble opinion, actually is a serious contender just on pure damage. Now let's look at the secondary abilities. Water damage dealt up by 30%, meaning it's going to do a ton of damage, extra damage from that. And damage up by 20% when HP is above 70%, another bold vigor. So this is an amazing weapon. Even if you were to just pull, even if you're not going fully for the debris, and you pull one copy of this weapon, or one copy of Griff to get this weapon, worth it. You done good, because this is an excellent gun. Feed those black pearls into it, get it done. So now that we've looked at Griff, who is a straightforward attacker, also a super giga chad, let's look at Gale here. And Gale is a very, very interesting character. She is she's completely defense oriented. Let's take a look at why here. It's her character skill and also her secondary abilities. While Griff is a very selfish character and while Priet is a very selfish character, all of these other Yuletide characters are actually very party centric. They're focused on supporting the whole party. Gale is no slouch here. Gauge level B, so it's a little bit slower than those gauge level C's, but increases all allies' defense by 20%, very good, for 30 seconds and continually recovers 10% HP for all allies for 5 turns. Also reduces all allies' damage taken 5 times when own affinity is water. So she's not wholly locked to water, sort of like we saw with Sinnoh Saryu and a couple of these other characters that offer these great support abilities. Sinnoh Saryu being one case because if she has water weapons equipped in her main hand, she's giving you extra bonuses from her character skill. This is the same kind of thing. You see that play, you see this damage reduction go into play with someone like Bloody Griff in Arena, where when he fires off his character skill, all of a sudden he's taking a couple thousand points of damage, 3, 4, 5,000 points of damage per hit for the first couple of hits. And that's an incredibly powerful ability. She is giving this to the entire party. And so how does this translate? What does this look like on paper, or at least in practice? When you get this guy fired off, immediately your team is stronger. They're taking reduced damage, and they're healing. Now, what do these 5 turns mean? These mean 5 turns, 5 actions. Not 5 full rounds of your characters going, but 5 separate actions. So the way you plan out your agility, the way you kind of time it against planning on what kind of teams you go against and things like that, it's going to take a little bit of min-maxing and planning, because you don't want her to go first and then everybody else to go, because what's happening then is that you're wasting mitigation, or you're wasting heals. That's the big thing, because every action your team takes is another heal. So you're wasting those heals, or every action anybody takes. So what you want to do is you want her to be, in theory, this is just throwing this out there, but in theory you want her to be firing off right before the other team goes, so that when they're attacking, your team is healing. And then when they're attacking, your team is also taking the damage mitigation. So there's a little bit of playing with you got to do here, but this is a excellent, just absolutely unique ability. And for this ability alone, it is worth getting at least 1 copy of her, in my opinion. And you can feed her advanced handbooks to get her first 2 passive abilities, and these are all allies HP up by 20%. That is massive. That is more than what you get from most characters, and it is a wonderful, HP is a great support ability. Increases the HP of equipped water element guns for the whole party, the weakest of the bunch in my opinion. And then all allies agility up by 10% for 60 seconds. So this is a timed fleet foot. This girl is built tailor-made for Arena. Just an absolutely wonderful character. Her debris, not really worth writing home about. Character skill gauge reduced by 15% while equipped with a water affinity main weapon. It's, in my opinion, really niche. But the fact that her character gauge also, and I forgot to mention this, her character skill fires off at the beginning of battle. That's incredible. Again, you see this with Celebratory Demios, you see this with Celebratory Akehawk, you see this with 063Y in his tank mode, and you also see it with Bloody Griff. These characters, because they're able to fire off their character skills right at the beginning of battle, are perfect Arena team members. She is no exception to this. Let's go ahead and take a look at her weapon. Recover 10% HP for all allies and cure 1 status ailment. Excellent ability. I love having that cleanse and the heal in a single ability. 28-second cooldown is pretty steep, but this is a weapon that you would use in tower more than in arena. You're not going to be seeing this weapon in arena because of the long cooldown. Then we got the 15-second here, increases all allies defense by 30%. Again, she's just there to build your team up and make them stronger. Water boon, HP up by 50%. Pretty straightforward. Good weapon for tower, not so much for arena. So that just about sums up these banners. And as far as anything else goes, personally, I'm working on Recollections of Dusk right now, and I'm enjoying that content. I really haven't had a whole lot of time to do a lot of other things, but I have actually gone back into the cage, and I have been going through and digging up the hidden stories. Quite enjoying those. One of probably my favorites so far has been, actually I really enjoyed Priet's, the ones that I've seen of hers so far. Those are interesting, but I'm enjoying Gale's right now. I'm in that act right now, and Gale's are pretty interesting. She's an interesting character. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there for now. This was just a recap on banners. I'm not even going to, I recorded a video last night and it turned into, for about the last 5 minutes of the video, a rant on the page shop because it's so terrible. And every time I kind of want to go in there and dip into it, maybe grab something to do a paid banner, I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it because the packages are just so bad. And so in summary, I will just say, developers, please do something about your page shop. You're not incentivizing us to pay in this game. if you have a terrible, terrible, no good, very bad, not very good paid shop. Okay, there's just, you need the paid and the free gems, a couple other things. The other thing I would say that I think we really need a lot more of is free gems in this game. December has been a very, I could be wrong on this, but December has been a very lacking month in free gems. And it's mostly for the veteran players. The newer players are probably getting a lot more than we are, because these reruns of events that have been coming through, they're getting the full 6,000 gems out of these, where we're only getting about, I want to say 1,500. That's half of a step on a banner. And so it's just not really, the value really isn't there for the gems. Thankfully, there's a lot of other things to keep us occupied, but one more thing I will say. If we are going to keep up with the drought on gems, we can't keep up with these limited collaborations and limited banners. We currently have 3 limited banners, separate limited banners, each with their own video. Okay, so that is 600 pulls right there to get a guaranteed of one of these units, 600. We just got done with a limited collaboration in Sin Alice with 3 characters on that banner. So that is 4 limited banners in 1 month with next to no free gems for us casuals, us filthy casuals, to pay on and to pay into. So unless we'd been saving for months prior to this and just ignoring everything else, there is no way we could have realistically done more than maybe 2 of these, maybe 1. Going whole hog on 1 to the exclusion of the other 3. And that's not, I don't think that's sustainable. I think that that actually creates a situation of burnout. And we see this with the a few of the other games that I enjoy playing, one of them being War of the Visions, which I've played for years now. And an issue that has arisen with that, which I feel like is very similar to what's going on in NieR Reincarnation right now. I feel like the developers are trying to squeak out a few extra bucks. They're trying to kind of test the limit of what the paying customer base will do and what they'll tolerate. I hate it when games get into this mode, and I feel like NieR Reincarnation is kind of going through this growing pain right now, which sucks for the rest of us because we miss out on some of the cool stuff we want. But it's the developers testing and pushing against the player base to see what they'll tolerate. It's never a good thing. And I'll tell you what happened in War of the Visions. There are these expensive units that usually have a half drop rate. They're called cost 100 units. And what happened with these is they used to release one of these every 2 months or so. It was pretty infrequent. They were very highly sought after. Recently, I think I want to say they've released 3 in the past month. 3, when it used to be once every couple of months. Some of them being limited. So just to put it in perspective, these are units that are half the rate to pull, and they some of them are limited, so their banners are only around for a couple of weeks. And it's an exhausting process in that game, to the point to where I personally, playing the game, have just said, well, I have an idea what I want to get and what I want to aim for, so I'm going to ignore everything up to that point because I have to. And that's kind of the mode, and it kind of detaches me from the game. I want to play into it. I want to be able to pick up those units from time to time, those really cool ones, and I just can't do it anymore. And so that creates a burnout situation. I don't want that to happen with NieR Reincarnation. So developers, if you are by some miraculous chance watching this video, knock it off. If you're going to do this, you gotta put more free gems into the game, and also you gotta fix your dagnam shops, because your shops, the packages suck. Okay, there needs to be more value. So I actually ended up going in on the rant again, so I'm just gonna probably upload this video because it's something that's been on my mind, and it's something that I just can't seem to avoid. So leaving it on a good note, I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season. We just started Hanukkah 2 days ago, or 3 days ago. We're in the midst of Advent. Christmas is right around the corner. There's all sorts of stuff going on right now. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time with family and friends and good food, getting your jobs done so you can have a little bit of time off. Maybe, just maybe, you guys will even be able to enjoy a white Christmas, and that would be lovely. So peace out, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.